Week 4 is in the books, and today I'm going to go over the biggest winners and losers from the week. I'm Jack Gretler, your host of Pro Ball Pod, and let's get right into it with the winners. Our first big winner this week has to go to the New England Patriots. Drake May is stacking solid games. After a questionable first start against the Raiders, he has looked great the last 3 games, throwing 14 for 17 and 2 touchdowns against this Carolina Panthers team in a blowout win. And honestly, everything just looks so fluid for the Patriots on all 3 levels. Offense was playing solid football. Defense played good job. And ultimately, big plays on special teams led by Marcus Jones and a huge punt return touchdown. Overall, this team dominated at all 3 levels. I understand the Panthers have been up and down to start out the season, but still, I'm impressed from what I see out of the Patriots. I think they're starting to put it together and earlier than expected, and I expect them to make some noise in the AFC this year. They're my first winner of the week. Our next big winner has to be the Falcons offense. After a disastrous week last week for Michael Penix, where he ended up getting benched for Kirk Cousins, he completely righted the ship this week in a dominating fashion against Washington. Great day from Penix. Bijan got going on the ground, and most importantly, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, his 2 big pass catchers, got involved, caught touchdowns, and had big games. And to this point, Penix had not been able to produce a big game out of all 3 of them, much less at the same time. So I am very impressed from what I saw out of the Falcons offense. They are living up to the potential by the looks of it. And if this keeps up, the Falcons are going to be a playoff team. Their offense is explosive when Penix is on, and as long as Bijan is leading the charge with Penix, I think the Falcons have big days ahead. If Drake London can keep this consistency, if Penix can keep getting him the ball, and if Kyle Pitts can stay involved. That's the keys, but I think the Falcons are big winners this week. They did a great job. Even if it was against a bad defense, you got to get back on track somehow. So give me the Falcons as a big winner here. And for our last big winner, we got to talk about the Jags defense. They've quietly been one of the best defenses in the league up to this point. They gotten a ton of turnovers. This was no different this game, forcing 3 turnovers on Brock Purdy and a strong 49ers offense. And got to give them props. They are one Jake Browning comeback away from being 4-0. And offense has been up and down. Brian Thomas hasn't been there. But you know what? Their defense has been consistently getting turnovers, forcing turnovers, and making big plays. So you got to shout them out. I'm very impressed with what I see with Houston effectively melting down on the offensive side of the ball. Indianapolis seems like the biggest threat to the Jaguars at this point, but the Jaguars have comfortably established themselves as AFC South contenders at this point. Their defense is going to be one of the best in the league if it continue to force turnovers at this rate, and got to give them credit. Another phenomenal week, especially Devin Lloyd, who's potentially going to be a Pro Bowl or All-Pro this season. So definitely give them credit there. Jags defense are probably one of our biggest winners of the week. But that's all we have for winners, so we're going to move right into the losers for the week. Our first big loser of the week, Geno Smith. It has been a rough go for Geno, mainly the turnovers. He's making plays, he's getting big yardage sometimes, but he keeps throwing interceptions, and that's a tough reality. This week was probably it all coming together for Geno in one of his worst weeks, forcing 3 interceptions in a tough game against the Bears. The Bears offense was okay, but the Raiders defense did more than enough for Geno to win the game. Ashton Jeanty finally breaks out onto the scene, and Geno is basically sabotaging the game for them. And we may have to start having the conversation. When is the benching going to be in consideration? Because if Geno's holding this offense back, it could be a tough conversations for Pete Carroll, who traded for him just offseason for a 3rd-round pick. But overall, Jeanty did his job. The defense did his job. This one's on Geno. You can't throw 3 interceptions, and this is not his first multi-interception game. He keeps turning over the ball consistently week in and week out, and something's got to give. But the Raiders are a big loser this week, specifically because of Geno Smith. Our next big loser is the Baltimore Ravens, and this is just an all-around, it looks like it could be a disastrous season for them. Lamar Jackson did not look good this game. He could not get anything going. Derrick Henry, once again, a quiet game. And I have concerns. Lamar Jackson had a hamstring injury, supposedly, but some are saying he may have got benched. This game may have been a lost cause. And this is not some juggernaut Chiefs team that this is excusable against. This is a Chiefs team that was 1-2 and struggling to get back on track. Getting Worthy back was obviously huge, but they should not have gotten blown out. This is a team that's supposed to be contending for a Super Bowl, a juggernaut of the AFC, and this kind of performance is just unacceptable. And honestly, I'm at a point where I'm hitting the full-on panic button with the Ravens defense. Matabuke is going to be out for the season. That's going to be a huge loss, and they look like they can't stop a nosebleed at this point. Doesn't matter who they play. They're giving up big-time points to offenses. The Lions, the Bills, this is not the first occasion. I get it. The schedule's tough. These are tough teams, but still, this Ravens defense was supposed to be what they tipped their hat on and supposed to be a strength of the team. And the reality is, if it's going to be one of the worst in the league, Lamar's going to have to be perfect. And when he played awful as he did yesterday, I have my concerns, and it may be time to hit the panic button. 1-3. Hopefully, with some easier opponents, they can get back on track. But their defense has not looked the same this year. It is not the Baltimore Ravens we know, and I am panicking on the Ravens at this point. And our final and by far biggest loser of the week has to go to the Tennessee Titans. How many more disasters do we have to witness out of this team before Brian Callahan can get the boot? They have not been competitive a single game this year. Cam Ward has not looked good so far, and honestly, I'm not even trying to blame him. Callahan's awful, and it doesn't matter who's calling the play. He switched to play caller. It made no difference. There's no value to Brian Callahan at this point. He's not a good coach. He's not the play caller, and it's clear that his play calling may have not been the core issue because the Titans' offense is still awful regardless. Titans' defense up and down, but ultimately you can't do much when your offense is that stagnant. I don't know how long it's going to take. Houston is an 0-3 team going into it. Their offense was incredibly stagnant, but their defense was a dominant force and handled business. The longer the Titans wait to get this Brian Callahan firing done, the more their season will continue to slip away. I have no faith in them moving forward. I like their team. I like their future. But as long as Callahan is coaching this team, I think they're going to continue to lose games. I think if they run into any competent defense, they are going to lose. It's that simple. They are the biggest loser of the week, and they are by far the worst team in the league, as we'll discuss in the next segment, the heroes and zeros. Now let's get right into the zeros and heroes segment. As for the zeros, because the Jets and Dolphins are playing, and that's a pivotal game to influence how this top 5 comes out, we're going to be skipping the bottom 5 NFL teams for now. We're going to put it to the side. I'll put it up here about now, so you'll be able to know for this week. But this week, we're only going to be able to analyze the heroes because Monday Night Football is too crucial to the rankings for the zeros. But let's get right into it. At number 5, the Los Angeles Rams. They're going to hold their spot. They did drop a game last week, but they were able to handle business against the Colts. Colts still looked good. It was a competitive game, but the Rams have looked excellent. Their defensive front has shown up. Puka is looking like an early boy favorite that could be mirroring that 2021 Cooper Kupp that was so special. He's been a dominant force, and their offense has it down to a T. I think they are easily a top 5 team in the league and will continue to be here. Obviously, if they get a couple more big wins, they could be knocking on the door of something a little more than a top 5 team, maybe a top 3. But for now, we're going to hold them at 5. Number 4, we got the Green Bay Packers. They did tie with Dallas. Defense did not look as good this week, but I still like what I see for the most part. I don't think they've done anything to deserve to get booted out of the top 5 as of right now. They're still an elite team. Jordan Love showed up this week. Matthew Golden getting involved is very exciting. Josh Jacobs finally broke out. So while maybe their defense regressed a little bit, I'm not really super worried about it. I think they're going to be back on track in time, and I think that the Packers are a top 5 team. They're going to come in at 4 this week. Number 3, give me the Detroit Lions. They've definitely been a force these last couple weeks. Their offense figured it out. That was a tough loss against Green Bay week 1, but since then they have shooken it off completely. They've been a dominant force on both sides of the ball, and they've played excellent football. Browns, easy opponent. I don't see any reason to move them down, but maybe not necessarily move them up to the top 2 just yet. But overall, they've shown up. They've been impressive these last 3 weeks. Got to give them credit. They are the 3 this week. Number 2 goes to the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Their passing game has definitely regressed this year. Jalen Hurts has not had to throw the ball, but they haven't needed to do much on offense because their defense and special teams have been playing so good. They just need to play okay offense with a good rushing game, and that's more than enough for them to win games. They are the Super Bowl champions. They are undefeated, and they have some statement wins up to this point. So, got to keep them there at number 2. And number 1 goes to the Buffalo Bills. Easy schedule, I won't lie. They've kind of got to coast up to this point with their matchups, but honestly, until they show me something that, like, take a drop a loss they shouldn't, I feel no reason to move them. They dominate every week in and week out, beat the Saints by 2 scores, so good on them. But overall, the rankings, they're starting to come into place a little bit. I still feel like some teams could be knocking on the door. Chargers, they were knocking on the door, but dropping to the Giants like that can't happen. The Joel injury has me a little nervous. Some other teams that I had in consideration, the Chiefs could be sneaking back in there. Not just yet, maybe a bit of an overreaction because they beat a terrible Ravens team up to this point. But I definitely think the Chiefs are sneaking back in. Now that Xavier Worthy's back, I think they're going to start to find their stride. But overall, this is the top 5. I expect Eagles, Packers, Bills to be mainstays up to this point. Lions as well. But I definitely think there are some teams that could be knocking on the door for a spot. But overall, that's all I have for this week's NFL recap. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Jack of Pro Ball Pod signing off, and I'll catch you guys back here next week for another recap and see how everything changed. I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.